Lendl yelled to Don to come in. Bully. Yeah, he wants to come in.
It's a lot warmer here.
Yes.
I make a motion to come out of executive session at 6:09. I make a motion that we approve Chris Sear as police chief in training and code enforcement officer starting October 1st until November 4, when Sear Martin officially resigns and Chris takes over as chief. Is that right? Can we do that again, or you got it? I make a motion that we approve Chris Sear as police chief in training and code enforcement officer beginning October 1st until November 4, when Sear Martin officially resigns and Chris takes over as chief.
Second that?
Chris, we're very excited about
All
having
in
you
favor?
aboard.
Thank you. Chris, I believe you wanted to say a few things to the
Sure, just to address the townspeople here. I appreciate each and every one of you caring enough about this to be here. So often, citizens look for the police department to solve all the problems in the community. It doesn't work that way. Sir Robert Peel founded London Police Department back in the day, late 1600s. He had a saying, the people are the police. The police are the people. The police department cannot function in a vacuum all by themselves. You have to have the community behind you, and you have to have the community helping you. That's the reason that police departments in Mexico and Eastport are not closing right now. They were shuttered for a little bit. The towns stepped up to the plate and said, we are not losing this police department. Because when you talk about police coverage, police coverage you get with a municipal department. Some guy at 2 in the morning walking around a building with a flashlight checking doors and windows. That's high visibility patrol in the middle of the night. Maybe if we'd had that in Van Buren, maybe our ATM machine would have been hit. You don't know what you've prevented by having men out there around the clock on the road. And so, you don't get that coverage. When you get the county and state, they prioritize their calls because they're spread so thin. In Van Buren, a guy had his garage broken into with some gas and tools stolen. He waited 3 days for a deputy to show up. When he questioned the deputy, why did it take you so long to come take a report? Well, sir, we're very short-handed and we had to prioritize our calls. We had emergency calls that took precedence. So when we start talking, we hear a lot about, we get much cheaper police coverage, with county and state. You're talking two different types of police coverage. We talk about your local municipal police services that know people and that are out and about. They know if a car's supposed to be there or not at 2 in the morning type of thing. So, just to give you a real brief thumbnail sketch of some of the ideas that will involve the community. One of the first things I'll do as police chief is I'm going to form what's called a COPS board. It's a Chief of Police's Advisory Board, a steering committee, if you will, that has members from across the face of the community. Maybe a principal of the school, maybe a business owner, maybe somebody from a civic organization, a leader of the Legion, maybe. It's going to be a panel of people that will meet quarterly with the police chief. And we're going to talk about what the police department is doing And you as citizens are gonna talk about what you feel we should be doing. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? A lot of times, the public doesn't feel like the police department's priorities are necessarily in the right place. That's especially true if you got a bunch of young bucks that all they wanna do is run around and run radar while property crimes go unsolved and the drug trade is unmolested here in town. That's not gonna work. Priorities are messed up. So we better keep these priorities aligned with the community. We have an advisory board that helps us steer the PD in the direction that you, the taxpayer, you, the resident, want it to go. We're gonna double down on that school resource officer. Yes, ma'am. That is an integral part. Just look at what happened in Georgia. The SRO saved the day on that deal. He saved, who knows how many lives he saved by taking that shooter down right away. So we're gonna double down on that, and have our officer in the schools. We're gonna develop a YANA program, they call it, Y-A-N-I, You Are Not Alone. It's gonna be a program where we keep track of our seniors that are shut-ins, our disabled, even our mentally ill. We're gonna develop a program that they're using nationwide from California to Rhode Island to be able to check on these people, make sure that they're okay. There's people that stay shut up, they don't necessarily even have any family around anymore. What better police officer on patrol with a cruiser, what better man to stop and check? Mrs. Michaud, haven't seen you outside your house for a while. Are you okay? Everything going all right? You feeling okay? Check on these people, make sure they're okay. Seasonal, vacant property and camp checks. We need to have eyes on these buildings. These people from away are building these expensive camps and have expensive vacation homes here. They're paying into our tax base. What are they getting out of the police department for that? The least we can do is check on their camp, make sure it didn't get broken into or vandalized, right? Business door checks, critical at night. So some of these things we've talked about already, but I will reiterate what we talked about in executive session about challenges. This is no small feat we're trying to pull off here. So we're trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat by keeping this place open. It's not going to be easy in these expensive times. But with a chief that's a good grant writer, we can do it. We can supplement what the town can afford to pay by bringing federal dollars into this place to keep our heads above water. The vehicles, you know, there's a lot of money that's got to be spent there to bring these things back to, I mean, they're spent, they're old, they're tired. Another challenge is the district attorney's office that we're working with here in Aroostook County. They are work ethically challenged. They struggle with having the work ethic to put a case together, and they struggle with the courage to bring it before a judge and make an argument because they're afraid to lose. They're having a difficult time getting good cases through the district attorney's office. That's something the chief will really work on when he partners with other police chiefs. MDEA, we beg. How many times have we seen the chief and actually beg for help? Because a little agency like us, we don't have the resources to conduct this major drug investigation. It's very easy to say, oh, there's a drug house, let's take it down. Well, if we were in Venezuela, give me a battering ram and a flak vest, giddy up, semi-automatic rifle, we'll go in and take it down. We're not in Venezuela, are we? We're in a country that has rights, the Constitution, people have a right to due process. So we can't just go take the door down, right? We've got to conduct an investigation, which oftentimes takes a long time. And we don't always have the resources for that. MDEA can help. If they don't want to help at my request, I'd be willing to bet they'll help at Troy Jackson or Susan Collins' request. But we're going to get MDEA to know where the town of Ashland is. And the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease for those people. We're going to get the help we need to address the problem, because I know that's a big priority with the citizens here in town. In summary, I want the relationship between the council and the chief to be a collaborative one, not an adversarial one. Me as chief, we're not going to dance around line items. Give me the money that you agree to every year in the budget. I'm going to have to play the shell game for a while to figure out where we're underspending, where we're overspending, and see if I can make an intelligent decision about where those line items should fall. That's gonna take a little bit of time, and I'd ask for your patience on that. But once we get that down to a science, we're not gonna have to dance around those issues and spend time in a council meeting dancing around line items. You give me the amount that you agree to, and then we're gonna figure out the best way to use it. And I've got other chiefs in the county that will help me do that in a successful way. I'm not naive enough to think that a handful of honest cops with a good work ethic can come in here and turn things around overnight. I'm not that naive. What we are proposing here is truly a labor of love. It's trying to keep another legacy police department that's been here for so many years from becoming another statistic in the state of Maine. We have precedents. Greenville. Look it up when you get home online. Greenville. Rangeley. Mexico. Eastport. The citizens in those towns drew a line in the sand and said, this department is not going to die, not on our watch. It's just not going to die. Maybe our kids will shut it down, but not us. And that's the reason why. They've got political help coming out their ears. The sheriff's departments are tripping all over themselves to help them cover shifts until they can get restaffed. And we can do the same thing here, but it needs to be a community partnership. Town leaders partnering with you good folks that are paying the bill. And finally, I'm going to tell you right up front, enforcement in Ashland is not going to depend on what your last name is. We're not going to cherry pick what laws to enforce and what laws not to enforce. They do that in places like Venezuela, in Mexico, in Argentina. And that's called police corruption. You will not have a police department that's corrupt as long as I'm at the helm over here. We're going to put officers in that department that have integrity. If it kills me, we're going to find the right people. If I've got to work around the clock rather than put the wrong person in a position, I will. We're going to make sure we've got the right person through a good, intelligent background investigation, make sure we've got integrity in those uniforms that the citizens can depend on, and that you can believe their word and have faith in the integrity of the job that they do. So, I believe the steering committee will help us set priorities, but just because we might set priorities on investigating property crime or investigating the drug trade doesn't mean that we're going to let folks run around town willy-nilly with unregistered, uninspected vehicles. When we take the oath of office, we swear to uphold the law in the state of Maine. And the last I checked, Ashland has not seceded from the state of Maine. So all the laws that apply down in Westbrook and Cape Elizabeth and Falmouth and Dexter and Corinna and Lincoln and Millinocket, they apply here too. It's not fair for all the people that are doing things legally for the police department to turn a blind eye to folks that don't want to do it legally. So yes, we'll set our priorities, but we're still going to have an expectation that the police department will do their job. We're not going to have folks up and down Main Street at 60 miles an hour with 6-month-old inspection stickers, 2-month-old registration plates. Do you really want a chief that would allow that to begin with? What kind of bang for your public safety buck are you getting out of that? That would be laziness on the part of a sworn law enforcement officer to just turn a blind eye and let all that happen. I won't do that to you. We're going to be on point. We're going to do our job. But I can't do it without your help. When you go home over the course of the next couple of weeks, talk to your friends and neighbors and relatives. And maybe we can get folks on board. Maybe we can rejuvenate some excitement about this department and the history that it represents. And we can get our second win to keep this place going. I'm not from Ashland, but I explained to the town council my connection to Western Lewiston County over here. Spent most of my summers as a kid not very far off the road at St. Floyd Lake. Grandparents, when they were first married, went to Sheridan. My grandfather went to work for the Great Northern Paper Company, his first job, working the logging camp state. Their first home was in Sheridan, and their first child was baptized at that old church that's fallen in next to Carmen's house. So I've got some connection to the area. I want to be here. I'm not coming here for the money or the benefits, or certainly. And my age, I'm not coming here for the rank of and wearing my uniform. No one's gonna be calling me chief around this town. I'm gonna be calling me Chris. And I wanna work with people to keep this department open, see if we can put enough pressure on the criminal element in this town. They'll choose to go elsewhere where there's no police department, no pressure, so that we can live our lives in peace here without these problems that we're seeing. I appreciate you all being here very much.
Thank you very much, Bruce.
Come up. You guys all got a letter? Did you pass the letter out? That came from the water district? We're out of compliance with our water system in the building here, that we need to put a backflow preventer on our 4-inch line. We did the 1.5 inches 10, 12 years ago, but now the 4-inch line's gotta be a backflow preventer on it. So I guess I need you guys' approval to get a hold of a plumber, come give us a quote. Because right now, we could contaminate some water when we pump, like what we're doing tonight, matter of fact, we could actually contaminate some of the homes around the area. So the water could go back and not clean water. But I guess we're in violation of that, I believe.
Yes, basically, what could happen, I'm gonna use this as a hypothetical, is, say like we had a truck out here that was drawing off the hydrant, and then we had a truck in the firehouse, or 2 trucks in the firehouse, filling up. Well, if this truck out here is pulling more water faster, he could actually pull the water out of the truck into our drinking water system.
Yeah, basically what we're doing tonight, matter of fact.
So,
The cost of backflow preventers, I'm not sure what they are. It's a 4-inch line, so it's probably gonna be pretty expensive.
I make a motion that we get a quote to get the backflow,
Prevent.
get the plumbing up to.
Yeah, it works like 2 check valves in line, so you can pump water through it, but no water can go back in the system. It works like a check valve. And it's tested once a year. You have to test it once a year.
Okay, I make a motion that we get at least 2 quotes, so we have something to choose from, on the water system here at the town office to bring it up to, so it meets code.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Don.
We make a decision on that.
Back to the fun.
Okay, next item, review audit reports.
You guys had a bunch of, quotes, emails, in the packet. The first thing is they'll saying about the audit anymore. I talked to Tammy, because Tammy was the one that reached out to, the auditors. She suggested the number 1 choice should be Ron Bollier out of Portland. His rate will be hourly, so he didn't give us a quote, they had a really good conversation, and, he kind of steered her in some other directions as well, to get quotes. A lot of, this next list is all the people that she contacted, and anyone that's crossed out says it looks good. So, kind of narrowing it down a little bit, so she suggested Ron for the first choice, and then the main municipal audit service, that would be a second choice, but they do not do a single
Single
and that would be if we ever got federal money up to $750,000, they wouldn't be able to do our audit at that point. Not that I'm thinking we're gonna get that anytime soon, but you never know, it could happen.
Well, that money for
Pass-through.
that money for the main woods is
Yeah.
federal money, and it's almost $500,000.
Yes,
So,
so, as long as it doesn't hit that $750,000 threshold,
so we're okay.
They-
But even a pass-through grant.
That pass-through grant would trigger that, so you'd be
Yeah.
over 750,000.
so that would be the only issue with that.
So
and then the main, it was main municipal, yep, and then the R.H. Smith. They put it together a really nice presentation. They don't have a great track record for audits. It takes a very long time, there's some people, there's towns that have used them, I think Washburn has used them before, and they are still waiting on their audits for that time period. So, that would not really, I wouldn't recommend that, but it's in the package. So, if you want, I can reach out to Ron and get an actual quote, see what it costs for him to come up here and say, I would be.
It sounds like he's not gonna give a quote though, he's gonna just tell us what his hourly rate is. I know that with carpenters, that sometimes, if you have a finite amount of work, and they don't find rot, you're better off to not have a quote.
Yeah.
So if we're pretty cut and dry, going by the hours shouldn't be that bad,
Yeah, I would,
but if they find an issue,
right.
Yeah, I'm not. This would.
You don't have to make a decision, right? I can reach out to Ron
So,
and get,
at least the hourly
yeah,
rate.
yeah, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, those are the only three, basically, that are, would be your choice.
do you guys all agree with that?
Find out, approximately how long per town this size do they normally spend on it, so we can have an idea
Yeah, like
of what the
ballpark.
total would be. Plus or minus.
That was it.
Old business, we need to go into executive session. Okay.
I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel issue per Maine State Law, Title I MRSA, Section 405-6A.
Secondary.
All in favor?
Going no quick. Oh, man.